Hello, hello. This is Sia with Black Petal Gardening. If this is the first time you're joining with us, welcome. And of course, if you've been watching some of our other videos, we love having you back. What we're doing today is we are going to get some cauliflower planted. Now, this is what I consider, I guess, raised bed number 2 out of the 4 that we have. And we previously had our hybrid paddock cabbage in here. We had 4 plants. We are going to go ahead and do the cauliflower in here. And the 2 cauliflowers we're going to do, we got from Johnny Seeds. We're doing this Purple Moon and then also this Denali. So one is a white and one is supposed to be purple. And the white one has a 73-day maturity and the purple a 62. So with this being, within that first week of August, I'm hoping that we have timed this right so that we can take advantage of the heat of the day to help get the seeds to germinate. But then as it's starting to grow, in its early years and starting to form, more importantly, we'll be starting to get into our cooler time of year, and that will help because I think these are a little bit heat sensitive. So we're gonna get this going. And the first thing I'm gonna do is get some potting soil. So as you can see, I'm just putting it right on top of the straw that we had down as a mulch, and the straw can break down, throughout the process and add additional nutrients to the soil. Sorry if you guys jiggle just a little bit. I'm going to adjust things slightly. There we go. And the ground here is not too bad. There's a little bit of give, but it is very, very dry because we haven't had anything planted in here for a while. So I am going to scoot around the other way and we're going to get this spread out and ready for planting. Now I did look it up because I wanted to make sure that I'm giving my plants a good base and good opportunities. Cauliflower can be planted by Brussels sprouts. So we're going to do that here. We're also going to be planting some daikon radishes, and I think I'm going to plant them between the Brussels sprouts and the cucumbers that are over here. The reason I'm not doing the cauliflower over in that empty area by the cucumbers is my research said you really shouldn't be planting cauliflower and cucumbers next to each other. So I'm going to believe them and we'll go with that. Now for both of these, they recommend a 1/2 inch deep sowing. They do say do 3 seeds every 18 inches and then thin it down to 1 plant. As you know, if you're familiar, I hate thinning, so we're just going to do the 1 and hope for the best. I do understand that puts a little bit of pressure on that 1 seed to actually germinate and grow, and I'm fine with that. We could have a little bit of issue with the fact that we have the Brussels sprout leaves kind of getting in the way, because the way I'm looking at it is we're going to have 2 of each variety, but you know what? We'll see how it goes. Make sure I do not get these seed packets all wet. give this a really good soaking. I'm going to give that a minute to soak in, and then we'll do another round. So just move you over here real quick. So this is where we are going to do either our daikon radish or our cabbage. I need to look at my notes again to see if cabbage and cucumber can be next to each other. My guess is going to be if cauliflower shouldn't be next to cucumbers, and cabbage probably shouldn't either, because they're all, you know, part of that brassica thing, I believe. But I'll double check that. If cabbage is a no-go, then we'll definitely put some daikon radish in here. As you can see, we do have some other placards in here. And this was where we tried to plant some of our flowers. They just did not do what they needed to do. So that was a bust. It was a little disappointing, but that's okay. The other option we have is replanting our butter crunch lettuce, because that did very well over here. But it also had a little bit more space early in the season, and with the Brussels sprouts kind of creeping in, I don't know if we would have as much room as we would potentially like. So right now, daikon radish is kind of winning out on the likelihood of what we're going to plant, but we do have a few other options. The other area that we're looking at, where I'm definitely going to be planting daikon radish, and you can't really see it very well because we have these Brad's Atomic tomatoes that are over here, is in the empty areas in this section. This is our first raised bed, and this is the one that has probably the highest percentage of native soil, and that's the soil that we took out of our old raised beds, which we are going to be dismantling at some point this month and hopefully be done by the end of this month. So when this dries out, it definitely gets really, really hard. And daikon radish, from what I understand, a lot of people use, like in the South where they have clay soils, or other areas, not just the South, to help break the soil up. And so I think that's going to be a good option. We do have these sunflowers around. We have the tomatoes. I have planted a couple of flowers in there, so that will help bring in some additional pollinators. But I think this will keep this area a little bit cooler, just in case daikons don't like the heat, which I want to say that they don't love it. But again, I would have to, verify on that. But I'm thinking we could probably get maybe 8 to 12 daikon radishes in this area, and let them grow, break up the soil for us, and then Scott will have those available, because I think he's looking to do some kind of pickling project with them. I'm not entirely sure exactly what he's going to do, but I know there's a restaurant that we like to order from that has some kind of appetizer that includes using the daikon radishes, and I think he's hoping to kind of mimic that. So anyway, that's a future video and a future plan. For now, we've given this a little time to soak in, and I'm going to give it another water through, just to hopefully make sure that it gets thoroughly watered. So, these are new plantings, and I want to make sure that water really penetrates down, not just in this top layer, but actually gets down into the soil. Okay. Do a little bit of a cleanup one. There we go, and I think that's good. Alrighty, well, thank you for coming along while we continue to bolster our fall garden. We've got our purple cauliflower over here. We've got our Denali white cauliflower over here. And that's going to be our, I guess, third variety or plant that we've gotten in the ground for hopefully a fall harvest. That's going to be cauliflower, we've got carrots, and of course we've got beans. And we do have a few others that I mentioned throughout this video that we're planning on doing as well. So I'm very excited and looking forward to having some success as the fall winds down and winter comes into play with some delicious, fresh, homegrown vegetables being available at a time where you might not normally expect to have some. So anyway, if you have any feedback, suggestions, things like that, please feel free to drop those into the comments. And we do look at each and every one of them and try to reply back to all of them. And if you enjoy what we're doing or just want to keep an eye on how things are going, please consider subscribing. Alrighty, you have a marvelous day. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.